What's going on, folks? Welcome to Free to Prowl. Here we got one in here. Let's see who. Pull up the old chat. We'll wait here a few minutes. Just getting Matt pulled in here, and we will start checking things out here. You guys, be sure to let us know who's here. Just leave us a comment. Love to see who's listening, and let us know if you guys have any questions throughout the evening here. What's going on, Living in Man? Looks like we got Real Outdoor Dad here. Thank you guys for stopping in. It's always greatly appreciated. I'm going to pull Matt here in just a second. Hope everybody's having a good evening. Living MM, what have you guys been up to lately? Or Real Outdoor Dad, how about you? What you been up to? Alrighty, I'm gonna pull Matt in here. Mr. Matt, how are you?
Hey, Adam. Best day yet.
Yeah, thank
about
you
you?
very much. I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here in Southwest Wisconsin. How's it up by you guys?
It got into the 70s today. It's a great day. Yeah. Started off the day at 4 a.m. turkey hunting and ended the day trap practice. So
Well,
best day yet.
nothing wrong with that. How was turkey hunting?
One Tom came by kind of in between Chris and I, brother and I, and no real move. Didn't like either one of our decoys, I guess. I'm real new to the turkey game, but I am quickly figuring out that it is one of the fun games out there for sure. Holy cow.
Yeah, you can just whatever you want to do, right? I mean, they're either in your face or they're being a little frustrating, but you can chase them however you want, and it's pretty fun. So
And I guess I've been blessed with some action too. It seems like there's turkeys around a couple farms that I got access to, and sat blind yesterday morning with my son and had a gobbler at like 30 yards in the tree, and it's like we looked at each other. The 12-year-old's like, "He's right there." Yes, he is. And that's just there's no. I mean, I'm getting lucky, and my friends who turkey hunt are like, "Dude, you're getting lucky." Like,
yeah, I mean, it's you've been after them pretty much most of the season, right?
yeah, youth season on. I think the only tag we didn't have was B. And I think every week we had. I mean, we probably sat 2 or 3 mornings, afternoons. It's been fun.
Awesome. Yeah, it's been a little touch and go here. I actually the season I was actually under the weather for. I was sick, but thankfully I cleared up. I got a little better and was able to pursue later in the week. But a little frustration. First morning, got up late and I wasn't ready in time, and he was there right after light and wasn't good. It wasn't a good situation. Didn't have a shell in my gun and he ended up skirting me. But yeah, it was a big, beautiful Tom. Roosted him the night before. It should all went to plan, but I think I was still feeling a little sick and just got up late. But that's how it goes. So
One of my mornings, I started walking to my tree without my gun, so I had to walk halfway back for that.
yeah, it happens. We're never perfect.
No.
It's just I always usually forget like camera stuff, and that's like my big frustration. It's like, oh, I got everything all over the place, but that's how it goes. So yeah, we are here with Matt Richard. He is a fellow Wisconsinite. What do you do? I guess explain to everybody what you do normally. What is your standard profession?
9 months a year, I am a high school math teacher. Wanted to be that since I was 16 years old. I had some great high school math teachers. Enjoyed. Parents were both educators. Enjoyed their example, serving, being mentors, and just kind of went to school for that. And so I'm a math teacher. Enjoy working with kids. Enjoy helping kids. Enjoy math. Every level I've taught, pre-algebra on to calculus. Some very fun kids that, my entire career still keep in contact with. I can't believe some of them are in their 30s having children and careers, and they're doctors. One just graduated from dental school. Like, it's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Knowing those kids and having those relationships.
Your kids won't be struggling in math homework.
It's not an option. Not an option.
Yeah, I was hit or miss in math. I had to take a lot of it all through college just because I went to an engineering school. But I'm not that. I mean, I can do the basics. So
there's the basics and there's the willingness to fail or try. And I think that's really what more math needs to be, that communicated that way. Like,
oh yeah,
it's not
because that's life. That's life in general, especially what we do, hunting and fishing. I mean, that's life. Willingness to fail, going out there trying something new. If we didn't want to fail or we're scared of failing, none of us would ever go out in the woods, because we all know the success rate.
Yeah. That my algebra concepts class, trying to get those kids, it's not about the number 7. Like, I see what you're doing. You're doing great. You're doing a great, like, I can get you to the number 7, but your willingness to work for a minute on this problem is really what matters in the long run.
Yep. So obviously the summers off are what allow you to do your other job, which is
correct. Yeah. So I'm a commercial fisherman in Alaska. I've been doing that since 2005. My first job out of college, I was teaching middle school math in Alaska for a quarter, and the guy sitting next to me who did a phone interview said, "Hey, what are you doing this summer?" I said, "I was going to try to get a job, summer school, teach summer school, make a couple bucks." He goes, "Come fish for me. We'll catch some fish." And he's been an incredible mentor. He was a great math teacher, had an awesome career, and we fished so hard that summer. And he wasn't someone I really knew. I mean, I was a worker, he was the boss, and we went hard. Some tough weather, and August 11th hit, and I don't think we talked for a few months after that. Like, I did a good job. He was a good boss, but that was
that was the extent of the relationship.
That was tough. But in hunting, in what do we love? We love those stories afterwards of, like, how tough was that? Can you believe what we did that day? Like, that pack out and the bugs and the rain, like, all of those things. Like, I think I've enjoyed that my whole life, is like,
oh yeah,
you embrace the misery or embrace the suck. And it sucked on days, but you get to December and you're like, man, remember that day? And then after that, once you figure it out, you're like, this is what I love to do. This is cool.
And you're hooked. You've been hooked ever since.
Mm-hmm.
So you started, I guess, deckhanding or whatever.
Correct.
Whatever
Straight up
call it.
Straight up greenhorn deckhand, and I was his only guy. And he fished some tough gear. We had some long boat rides, but I guess I learned quick. We were on the boat like the second day, and I puked over the side. And he's like, "Oh man, what are we doing?" But I don't know what it was that day. It wasn't even rough or whatever. But we figured it out. A week or two in, you figure out the tides. The tides in Alaska are crazy. So I worked for him for 6 years. I worked for Brian. Great mentor. It was nice to work for someone at that point, because you didn't owe anyone anything. He just gave me money at the end of the summer.
He paid you.
Yep.
That's pretty good. So then I guess I explain how you guys fish. So what's the style of fishing? Where are you guys fishing? I
So
guess.
it is, it's terminal gear. So we have gill nets, and I'm fishing in, an offshoot of the Pacific Ocean. I'm in saltwater. I'm fishing in the ocean. The body of water I'm in is Cook Inlet. Cook Inlet comes from the Pacific Ocean, and the fish I'm targeting are heading up Cook Inlet. The majority of them are heading toward the Kenai River. The Kenai River is world famous for its sockeye run and especially its incredible trophy Chinook salmon, king salmon.
Mm-hmm. I know one of our mutual friends has had some success up there doing some fishing. That's actually how we met. So one of my buddies in high school, he actually deckhanded for Matt, and he is also a fellow Wisconsinite, and that's kind of how I got hooked up with Matt and his brother. I think Tyler, deckhanded for you for 2 years?
Well, I think he could call it two. That's a great story. So Tyler was fresh, and he was, like you said, friends of a friend, right? And the buddy goes, hey, this guy, he's up here. He wants to go fishing. Like, you want to take him? I go, well, he can come for a boat ride. We call it a boat ride. So Tyler, come on out. Let's go for a boat ride. And man, we had a good day. And it was nice seas. I've got a picture of Tyler drinking a Coors Light. He was 21, I'm pretty sure. Sitting on 3 huge king salmon and a bag full of sockeye. And he's, he didn't have that suck a day. And I said, you want to come back next year? He goes, yeah, I'm in. I go, okay, here's the deal. It's not going to be the same. But yeah, Tyler was a worker. He had a great day that day, like you said, came back the next year and he fished solid. And that was my biggest year of fishing, was the year that he worked for me, because I was still working for Brian. And that year I flew up early and went out and fished in Bristol Bay, which Bristol Bay is world famous. That has, in the early 2000s, they were pretty comparable runs, 5 million fish, Bristol Bay run, 5 million fish, Kenai run, or Cook Inlet run. Since then, when I fished there in 2010, Bristol Bay might have had 12 million fish run. Kenai or Cook Inlet probably stayed around the 5 million, 4 million. Last year, Bristol Bay had a 50 million fish run.
Oh, wow.
They're setting records. They're catching 1 million fish a day on days in the summer. There's some great fishing out there. So I did fish out there that summer. Came back. Tyler fished with me, and then I fished in Prince William Sound that summer. So I did 3 separate fisheries still as a worker. That was the final year where I told my wife, I said, hey, I'm about done working for people. We're gonna invest this year. We're gonna buy, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tyler, like you said, he had that bug. He wanted to kill fish, and he was ready. We would commercial fish on Monday. Tyler would be up at 6 a.m. ready to go sport fish on Tuesday.
Really?
He had that go get them. Any fish we can get, we need to kill and we need to eat. He taught me how to smoke salmon. It was a fun summer. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. The old fisherman can be taught. So Living MM Outdoors says fish silvers in Jim Creek and pinks in the Bay in Valdez. One of the best trips of my life. Obviously, you can attest to that. I mean, you take your family up there every year, or most years, right?
Yep. Jim Creek, just out of Anchorage. Great fishery out of Anchorage. My friend Benji gets silvers out of there. And then I've never been to Valdez. I've been close. Last year I had the opportunity to do a fish wheel on the actual Copper River with friends who are residents and have those permits. That was incredible. But my sons have fished some creeks for pinks. That is a blast.
I need to make it up there one of these years. It just sounds like an epic adventure. So
I don't know what's going on with plane tickets, but someone just got one round trip for like under $300.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's only a 5.5 hour flight. Um, it's a pretty cool place, and you've got a couple of hookups once you show up. So
Yeah, I do know a couple people. Um, so 5 hour flight. So last year you drove there, right?
correct. As you can say, 2020. I have two young sons. I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old who both fish sometimes with me. Love the outdoors, but participate in everything. There's a great swim program in our community and Little League baseball. Um, so that they do that. And that's their summer, and they get to spend 2 weeks with me in Alaska and help and vacation. Last summer, when everything got closed, we kind of looked at each other and said, if there is not an opportunity for these boys to have a summer in Sun Prairie, we need to do something with our family. And I don't know what bug got in my wife Janelle and I, but we said, let's get an RV. And we it was late April, and it was before everyone wanted them. So we went and looked at this RV, and a great gentleman, 80-year-old, who had taken good care of it, just put new tires on it. And the gentleman and I are looking at each other like, I don't know what this is worth. So we offered him some money, and we bought it. Never really owned anything like that. Spent a month, toured Wisconsin a little bit, couple camping trips, and I kind of took the whole thing. I wanted to learn everything about it. I'm a lifelong learner, and I knew every piece of that thing. I knew what we were doing. Made a couple customizations, but really it was a pretty good rig. And we left late May. We were still teaching virtually. There weren't a lot. I mean, I think most parents can understand there wasn't a lot going on with kids in school. So we fulfilled our duties as educators, and our sons did their education, but we looked up boondocking, dry camping spots from here to Alaska. We left and did 6 nights in South Dakota, 7 nights in Wyoming. Oh my gosh. And the notes and the camping spots were incredible. 7 nights in Montana.
That's awesome.
My current deckhand, they go to Montana, so we went through Bozeman. I met my cousin in Billings. I did some state parks, but we really stayed out of national parks. We did some national forests,
Hmm.
but we did stay away from people. Custer State Park we had to hit. Everyone said that's not an option.
Yeah.
The buffalo right there, or the bison. Did some epic hikes. I mean, the boys, after leaving Montana, I mean, they could go on a 5-hour hike with a backpack and a water bladder like nothing. The reward was a sweet mountain house at the top.
That's awesome.
That was, if you teach them young that a mountain house is a reward, a backpack camping trip is going to be all reward, right?
Thanks for stopping in and living ML Outdoors. Appreciate you sharing that link on Facebook. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like an epic time. Obviously, a great childhood memory. I'm sure those boys are forever going to remember. I mean, there's a lot of people I think probably look back on 2020 summer and weren't very happy, but your boys are going to remember an epic trip. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we've been going through Canada to Ontario as a family since 1996. And the border crossing, because I'm a commercial fisherman, I'm an essential employee, I have my permits, and as a family, we pulled up to the border, showed them the permits, and they're like, all right, here's your temperature check, but we'd like you to hustle it up. So we got through Canada. The Yukon territories said you've got 24 hours to get through the Yukon territories. They checked at the front, and then at the end is the border to Alaska. And we made it right at about 24 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, if you ever get the chance on your, I know you sold your bike, but I wrote down one of my things was Harleys to Alaska.
That would be epic.
Oh, it's incredible. And
Yeah.
so usually the boys, June 21st are doing their thing. And I said, we got to get northern Alaska. We got to get somewhere way up there for solstice. And so typically when I would drive into Alaska, you'd go south toward Anchorage, and that's where people go. So we headed north to Fairbanks. And the boys had never been to Fairbanks, and we actually kept going further north. Never been down the Richardson Highway, and did some camping back there. And so I think we were 50 miles shy of the Arctic Circle.
Oh,
We didn't
wow.
we didn't quite make the Arctic Circle for solstice, but we've got pictures of the boys. You know, you can see the light behind me, and I think it's just this light at 2 o'clock. You know, the sun is almost down, but it's still that daylight. You know, it's not bright
Yep.
sun. You know,
Yep.
it's not bright sun. The sun just goes, it just angles down toward the horizon, and 2 a.m. having a campfire and still looking around, not a hint of darkness. You know,
That's
I
crazy.
hope they remember that for sure.
Oh, I'm sure they will. Hey, Mark, Jay, thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it, buddy. If anybody's just joining us here, we are talking with Matt Richard of Richard Family Salmon. He is a commercial salmon fisherman in Alaska in the summers. He's a fellow Wisconsinite, lives here the majority of the year, but goes up there, fishes salmon, ventures, explores, takes his kids along. So, so that sounds awesome. That sounds epic. I'm very jealous of your boys.
If you need notes on that, we had some great camping spots.
Yeah,
And dispersed ones too, where we're the only spot around and you're looking over a lake with a mountain in your back. And
that's cool. I still have the Snapchat that says lame updates from the RV, and I don't think any of them were really that lame. But yeah, it was just nonstop hikes and picturesque views. It was fun to just follow along with you guys. So that was awesome. So let's a little bit further. So did you have to buy your license, or how does that work? You becoming a captain, or I guess getting your shares or whatever?
Yeah. So the fishing I do is gill netting, and specifically what I do is set netting. So we actually have 2 set anchors in the ocean with GPS coordinates, and that's what holds my 35 fathom net.
So they're there all the time.
The anchors are my GPS coordinates. Those I own, so that's called a lease. I own 2 leases from the state of Alaska. What we do typically in the Cook Inlet is it's incredible tides, incredible currents, and you couldn't just leave an anchor there; it'd be gone. What we typically do is we use 100-pound sandbags, and so we try to get about 5,000 pounds of sandbags dropped on a 2-inch line. And then at the top of that 2-inch line, maybe 40 feet of 2-inch line, we'll put just some corks. So what happens is the tides, as they're coming in, they're pushing the corks down to the bottom, and then the tide slacks. Like if you can picture running the water, as it gets to the top, it slows down, or a pendulum.
Mm-hmm.
So right at the top, it slows down and kind of stops, and then it rushes back the other way. So right when it's at the top, everything kind of floats because it slacks up. It's called slack tide. So those corks will pop up. And then again, as it goes all the way to the bottom, it slacks up again at bottom, those corks pop up. But really what you want for the ice shoves is you want those corks to be down the majority of the tide.
Mm.
So when I show up on July 5th, we go for a boat ride and we drive around at low tide. And we kind of watch our watch, and low tide was 8:17. So at 8 o'clock or a little before 8, it's starting to slack up, and you're looking around, and these corks start popping up like a seagull, and you see them at a couple hundred yards. Like, oh, there's one, and you zip over, and you check your GPS, and you're like, okay, this is the outside of number 3 net. So then you put a bigger buoy on it for the summer. So we have these large buoys on it. And then those buoys we actually keep tied together, and then we run our nets from one buoy to the other. So the anchors most of the anchors live out there just on 2-inch line. And they live there, and then we come and we actually hook large buoys up to them for the summer. If the buoy stayed out all winter, they'd be
they'd be trashed,
broken off.
Yeah.
And then we even lose corks. I have 12 of those out there, and if we have to drop sandbags once a summer, the deckhands aren't happy about it, but it's got to get done.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the game, a little bit of maintenance, but so then you guys you set your nets, and then you're checking them daily, you're checking them hourly, or how long can you fish during the day, or is there windows, or what are your?
Yeah. So I guess I lost my train of thought. We got away from the permits and the leases.
Well, that's all right. I guess however you want to
Yeah.
explain it.
So the state of Alaska sets our fishing hours. Typically on a normal summer, we're guaranteed to fish from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Mondays and Thursdays by regulation. Then they hold back. The biologists make their predictions. And if they're predicting, they have a number. They want to get 1.1 million fish to the mouth of the river to allow for other users. So subsistence users, they run these 6-foot dip nets right in the mouth of the river, and they want to catch the fish. And then you've got your sport users up the river. So there's multiple user groups. And so the biologists say, okay, we're predicting a 3 million fish run. Mm-hmm. So we need the commercial guys to catch this many. And because we want to let 1.1 get to the river, because the subsistence guys and the sport guys are also going to catch their fish. So based on that projection, and they change, or they update their projection like every 10 days, every 2 weeks in the summer, because the season's pretty short. So we start the season on July 9th under some regulation, and per that regulation we get our guaranteed 24, and then maybe we get 64 hours. They call it emergency openers. So they run test nets at the bottom of the inlet, and they. So
you might not only be open 24 hours.
There's a chance that we could only be open for 2 12-hour periods a week.
Okay.
Depending on their predictions and what they think the fish are doing. So throughout the summer, every day they run these test nets, and they say, okay, the index on Tuesday was 72, which is a medium index, so they don't get too excited about it. But if the index gets to 150, 200, then they start opening things up, because they don't want a large ball of fish to hit the beach at the same time. They want them to trickle in. They want 20 or 30,000 up the river a day. But if 100 hits the river, then everyone misses them. If you were there that day, you got your fish. It was crazy, but you just can't stop that many fish. No one could stop that many fish. So then they
I can't believe that's like scientific, right? Like they actually want you guys to not let as many up the river as, a big influx, right? Mm-hmm. That's pretty crazy.
And there's a political game to it too. The guides up the river, the sport fishermen, they would like us to leave a little more for them. And so they have their lobbyists, and the biologists are saying, no, scientifically, we really only need this many up the river for the offspring to have a maximum chance of being viable, because of those eggs. If you have too many eggs, they're going to exhaust those resources as well. So it's a pretty big game, scientifically and politically, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Our friends want to go up, and they want to get 6 fish on 6 casts, and then that was a great day.
Yeah. I'm going to post a question here from Real Outdoor Dad. Says, are you running a bow picker boat, or what style boat are you picking or using?
So we are, so there's bow pickers and stern pickers, and those are the drift gill nets. So they actually don't anchor their nets. They float with their nets with the tide. So they drift netters is what they're called. We're set netters. So I have an open skiff. I have a 26-foot aluminum skiff. In the picture you posted, you could kind of see it. So we pick everything by hand. Some set netters have hydraulic
No wonder
wheels.
you need young deckhands.
it is a young person's game.
Let's see if I can pull up your website.
You're working pretty hard.
Is it Richard? What's your website again?
AlaskanFish.net. Yeah. So we have set net skiffs is what, if he knew what a bow picker was, he probably knows what a set net skiff is. So our nets are coming perpendicular across the net, and we're picking the fish out of them by hand. And you're getting a pretty good grip by the end of the summer. Wrestlers, yeah. We like to look for wrestlers for deckhands.
All right, let's see here. I'm gonna pull up a picture. This is from Matt. Matt's website. So this is the boat they're running.
There you go.
Yep. There's another, I think, picture of it right at top.
Yeah, I think that one you've got Mount Redoubt in the background. That was one of the better ones.
Yeah, that's a cool picture. So this is Matt's website. This is actually where he runs his. You can order fish off of his website. I guess you're starting to bring some of your fish back, or doing some stuff back in Wisconsin here. I guess explain that.
Correct. As you can imagine, people love salmon, and there's good salmon and there's great salmon, and Alaska has great salmon. So friends come over for dinner, and we serve salmon. We go someplace, we go to a friend's house. Are you going to grill? We'll bring salmon. People are very happy to eat salmon. So as you're doing this job in Wisconsin, people are saying, "Hey, could you bring me back a couple pounds? Could I get a couple fillets? Could I get 10 fillets?" And that's absolutely. We're people who serve. We love our friends and very happy to share. And
even in small water charters. Thanks for joining us.
It got to, holy cow, there's a lot of people, we got to bring back 100 pounds for our friends. We got to bring back 150 pounds for our friends. So at some point there, more friends are like, hey, I have a lot of friends who want this. Like when you give me 6 fillets, I've got to give 4 away to my friends. Is there a way they can buy from you? So it was kind of grew from word of mouth friends who said, we'd really like to buy, you don't have to give us 6 fillets every year. So in 2013, we started just selling person to person. So I hand fillet, hand vacuum pack, and fly my fish back into a freezer. And friends, I would drive to a friend's house or their friend's house or cousin's house, and here's your 10 pounds, here's your 20 pounds you wanted. Thanks for the order. It was a way. So I was making a couple more bucks per pound on my fish. It was a lot more work, but it was a way to kind of guarantee a little more solid income. You're never sure what you're going to catch in the waters. Most of our fish still goes to the cannery, and I get.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't they have to go to the boat?
Yep. They go to we bring them right to the shore, and they offload them, and I'm done with them, most of them. And then that was the case then too.
And that's just because of the contract and regulations, or?
We're an independent contractor, and I've sold to 5 different buyers up there. Copper River, Icicle, Packstar, and a couple other smaller buyers who want fish. Typically, my company is E&E Seafoods, and they allow me to store my boats, store my trailers, and they take me to my boat. So you can't put your boat on a dock because the water goes up. The water goes up 25 feet. So you've got to anchor your boat out in the ocean or in the river, and you've got to get a ride out there. So we've got a good relationship with our cannery, is what we call them, the processor. And then as we got larger and larger, so yeah, bringing fish back for friends and family. And then as that company grew, as the word of mouth grew, people wanted more, 50 pounds, 100 pounds. I have customers who are asking for 150 pounds of fish, and they're eating it as a family. They eat it on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We eat it on Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Like, we love your fish, and it's a great product. You can't get better than Alaska wild salmon. It's brought right to you. So since then, I've hired my company, E&E Seafoods, and they actually pin bone it as well. So I get every year I get new customers like, how do you get the bones out of that? And I couldn't tell you. I don't know. I know that it's an incredible machine that costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
But it comes to you in that vac-packed boneless fillet and goes on the grill.
That's awesome. No, I mean, I know you said, so some of these people are asking for large quantities of fish. So I did some research, did my due diligence here. We were talking about sustainable fishing, which I know has come up on multiple, live streams, as far as, like I was explaining to you before, as far as just panfish regulations and whatnot. But just for example, so in the 1960s, the world consumption of fish was 21 pounds per person. Since then, we are currently at 47 pounds per person, right? With also an influx of about 3.5 million, 4 million people or billion people extra in the world. So it's like you look at per person, it's gone up 44%. Plus, our population has extended that much as a world. Obviously, the fisheries, like you said before, the scientists behind, or the science behind you guys catching fish and when you're allowed to fish and what you're allowed to fish is pretty intricate in Alaska. So I think that kind of lends itself to why we need to do that and why some of the science is important. And Alaska is, I think, what I find, Alaska's a third or 2/3 of, I think it's a third of the fish population or fish consumption is produced out of Alaska in the United States.
I would think that.
Yeah.
It makes sense. And the salmon has got to be a higher percentage of that. I mean, and if you're not eating Alaskan salmon, there's a very good chance that it's probably farmed. And that's just a whole nother avenue. But if you compared them side by side, there's no way the Alaska wild salmon is a very good product. And I appreciate the biologist. I've got students who want to go study that. I said, hey, you need to go work for, let me give you the number of, this guy in Alaska that, I've had, that are very good scientists. And we all want the same thing. We all want Alaska fish to be awesome forever.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, the Bristol Bay fishery is bananas, and the Cook Inlet fishery is staying okay. The Bristol Bay's grown and the Cook Inlet's been steady. Our projection is medium again this year. And I think they're doing a fine job. Some would argue, based on the political game, that sometimes they let a few extra fish go up the river that maybe the sport guys thought they were going to catch and they sneak by or whatever. So, I wish I knew more about the ocean's temperature, because there's you have bad days of fishing. Like, well, what went wrong? Why aren't there many fish this today? Well, it's a whole season, or it's a whole year, it's a whole. There's a lot of variables, right?
Oh yeah. Well, and these fish are, they're just making their migration, right? They're making a loop out there. They're doing whatever. They're born in the river, go out the ocean, and then come back whenever they really, need to. So
yeah, 4 or 5 years later, how crazy is that? Those guys go and swim way out there for 4 or 5 years, and their nose brings them right back to the Kenai River.
It's insane, right? It's just it's wild, just thinking about obviously that fishery, and then around the world, and even us as just recreational fishermen. We all love fish. Everybody loves a fish fry. Everybody loves to eat salmon, right? We're, as Wisconsinites, we have Lake Michigan right here, so trolling for salmon, or Lake Superior. I know Real Outdoors dad, he's a Superior guy, so those types of fish are consumed widely and heavily, but obviously when we're looking at like the masses, obviously what you guys are producing up there is a huge part of what's consumed in the US. So it's pretty crazy. So so a couple more facts. So salmon or fish consumption in the US or in the world is 155 million tons. Beef is 71 million tons. Poultry is 132 million tons, and pork is 106 million tons. So fish is your main staple of meat throughout the world. So having really productive fisheries like the Alaska fisheries is pretty important to keeping things running. And I know, like you said, the whole fish farming thing, and how things are taken through other fisheries may not be as sustainable, may not be as beneficial. I don't know enough about those, and I'm sure we're on the same page there, but it just, I guess it bodes well to, a lot of people constantly get after our biologists and wildlife biologists about what kind of decisions they're doing or making, and regulations and things like that. And I think, and I've made mention of this on this broadcast before, as far as we all have, especially in Wisconsin here, we have an opportunity to voice our opinions in spring hearings, whether that's going to help or not. But I think, as you can see with how many fish they're letting in, at what times they're letting the fish in, when you guys can fish, I think it's important to understand that a lot of this is based in, keeping that resource around, right? We all know it's a natural resource. It's the state or the, I don't know how it works with ocean going fish, but I know for like fish here in Wisconsin, it's the state's resource. It's not ours personally, but it's the state's resource. So it's important to understand that some of those decisions, a lot of them are based in science, and we're not all perfect, especially biologists also. Sometimes you gotta live and learn. So.
And the Alaska salmon are regulated by the state, so they have a board of fish, and the different fisheries come up for their review every couple of years. And there's proposals from the user groups. Every user group gets their proposals. We think we should get more. We think we should get more. We think this should be less. And the board of fish meets, and they vote on different proposals every couple of years for each user group.
And that's a tough one up there, because you have the sport fishermen, you have the natives, and even just the subsistence people that are living, that are residents, right, and living out in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, you got a lot of user groups there for sure.
And each river kind of also has its own management as well. So the Yukon River would have a different management than the Kenai River. The Kenai River is the most populated. It's the accessible river. If you have a friend who flew to Alaska and caught a salmon without flying somewhere else, or flew to Anchorage and caught a salmon without flying somewhere else, there's a good chance he was on the Kenai Peninsula.
Yep.
So it's just the road access there provides for a lot of user groups.
Mm-hmm. Now, I guess, what would you say to somebody who's going to Alaska? If somebody was looking to go up there, is it something that's pretty? Do you need to hire a guide? Can you figure it out? Is it what are your thoughts there?
That is Janelle's favorite thing to do, is to help people plan Alaska trips. So, I would say you got to fish for a day, but don't try to fish for 5. You gotta see Alaska. If you're going there just to kill a fish, that people do it, that's cool. They do a lot of fishing. But if you're going to do one trip, plan on fishing for a day or two, catching a handful of salmon, but you got to go up a mountain. You got to drive and see moose. You just got to experience more than just the fishing. There's some good guides, but there you can get from Anchorage. You can get off the road and catch your salmon in the river. You're going to be, if you're driving, you're probably going to be pretty close to another person to catch a salmon. And if you hired a guide, he's going to take you a little further up the river or to another spot across the river where you can have a little more space to yourself. All of that are good options, but fish for a day or two, unless you had a place on the river. That's also great private access as well. But go for a hike, go see the waterfalls, see the wildlife, challenge yourself, get up that mountain and see the views. It's a pretty fun place, and it's not far. Go. Like if someone said, hey, tell me about Alaska, just go. It's really not that far. Rent a car, see what you want to see, do a little research, send me an email. We love to talk about visiting Alaska. Our favorite things are, we still, when we go up, my family tent camps new places every single year.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's just too much to see. So
it's just totally different from the basic, or the standard United States, right? It's a unique place. I'm disappointed I haven't made it there yet, but it might be on the to-do list here in the coming schedule. We'll see about that.
Janelle's plug would be definitely go on a glacier cruise. You got to go see a whale from a boat and a glacier calf. If you don't do that, That's your classic. And then it's no matter how many times we go and do that, every time it's like, are you kidding me? And you reach over and you grab an iceberg, you throw it on board and you chip it off and you put your, I don't know, how old are those icebergs? 10,000-year-old ice into
Yeah. And your
your
drink?
12-year-old scotch.
That sounds awesome. That sounds amazing. Now you might have just sold me right there.
We'll go
Uh,
we'll go pick an iceberg up for your scotch if you want.
perfect. So how are these? So the regulations as far as fishing, if we're recreational fishing in the river, it's a little bit different because you can catch them while flossing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Correct.
explain how that works.
So sport fishing, and I love sport fishing. I've sport fished. That was probably the first thing I did, and I drove. The first summer I lived there, we would drive 3 hours down to the river, catch our fish, 3 hours back, and it's a blast. And there's a technique to it. There's a learning curve to it. But like you said, I like the 9 or 10 weight fly rod, 9 foot, and you're flipping 12 feet of line out. A lot of guys will actually just use monofilament with split shots and a fly, just a hook, and you're just bouncing the bottom, and you can feel that, like you can feel the fish hesitate, and you set the hook. So the fish isn't biting, but you are bringing the fly to the fish's mouth. You're flossing, and you set the hook, and the rod goes down, and you've got a 6, 7, 8 pound fish in the middle of a raging river. Try to get that thing to shore, and it's a blast.
That sounds awesome.
Good guys can hold a beer and floss with one hand. That's great. I've spilled too many beers doing that.
And lost too many fish.
And lost too many setups. So you'd call it too many setups. Weight's gone, everything's gone. Yeah. Then you spend too much time resetting. But anyway, the nice thing about Alaska, so sport fishing, you get your 3, typically the season starts out with a limit of 3s. It gets up to 6. So you catch your 6 and you work a few hours to get those 6. Some guys work 12 hours to work those 6. And the nice thing is 6 pound fish is a significant amount of salmon. You take care of those correctly, that's a good amount of salmon. So that's your salmon. And there's great spots just to walk a few hundred yards with your hip boots on. Guys do it in sandals in July.
Yeah.
The water's cold, but you can stand there in sandals. The deeper you go, you're just trying to fight the next guy. Like the salmon really want to run in pretty shallow water.
Okay. Yeah. What do you, as far as a avid connoisseur of salmon, what's your favorite way to eat it?
On the grill. Put it on the grill. Get the grill nice and hot. Skin down, salt and pepper, maybe a little olive oil. Take it off at 137 degrees. Don't overcook it. And you're done. That's what I tell every one of my customers. You got to do that first before you go crazy trying to make some incredible elaborate dish. Mm-hmm. You got to taste how good this tastes just right.
The basics, now. Right?
Yeah. And we have a lot of people who say that's how we do it 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 10. It goes on the grill. Janelle does a great job in the oven. Same thing. You gotta take it out at the right temperature. Don't overcook it.
That's the key with a lot of wild game, I think. A lot of people have had overcooked venison or overcooked anything, and they don't like it, and that's what they that's what's stuck in their head is that taste.
Yeah, so. The chef just gets a little twitchy or a little scared of anything they've heard. So you overcook it just a touch. Yeah, get it off. I'll let it rest. That's fine. But yeah, get it off at 137 degrees.
137. You heard it here, folks. That's the magic number.
I think that's the right number. Yeah, because it's still gonna gain a little heat once you pull it off. It's gonna get to that 140, and that's exactly where you want it.
Perfect.
Yeah, I would never tell you something different.
Yeah. So other than, fishing, you're obviously a big, I'm caught, my cord's caught here. You're a big upland hunter as well.
I
That
am
that's your kind of your
I am a,
passion, right?
I'm a learning dog owner. Yeah. We got our first, so when we left Alaska, so we had our son. We lived in Alaska for 5 years, and we had our son, and decided we needed to move back to Wisconsin and be near family. We wanted to raise our family near family. We wanted them to know their grandparents and their aunts and uncles, and
Hmm.
very happy we
Always
did. But
important.
I said, okay, that is what we're going to do. That's not an option. I understand that. I want a shotgun and I want a dog.
That's what I want.
That's my requirements. And it took the first job I got in Wisconsin. My first homeroom student, her dad raised wire-haired point and griffins, and it just wasn't quite the right time for our family for a puppy. Then we waited for his next litter, but I've had my skiff for 5 years now. Been very fortunate to have some great mentors in the upland hunting and the dog training. My brother, for one, just demonstrated what level you can get a dog to when
Oh
you
yeah.
spend the time, when you spend that 20 minutes a day.
Hmm.
And I was able to do some foundation seminars with Rick Smith, Stony Brook Kennels up in Wisconsin Rapids. Just instrumental in having a dog that I love, having a dog that loves hunting, which then makes me really, really love the uplands.
Oh,
We go to it's on our calendar. We go to South Dakota and we do grouse out there and try to get up into the Park Falls, Hayward, try to hit a new county. I think I've got a goal of a new grouse county every single year.
I
With
remember. I remember deer hunting. I kicked up some grouse, and I shot you the waypoints on that one.
Send me the pin.
Yeah. Where was that? You were back in there a couple weeks later.
Oh man, those rough
Yeah.
grouse are fun birds. And you got to give the Wisconsin DNR credit. This where you live and where I live in southern Wisconsin, all the way up to central Wisconsin, the way that they can keep us involved by putting out pheasants. And
Oh
I
yeah.
I know some guys, kind of poo-poo it or whatever, but man, there's nothing better than a Sunday afternoon when you know that birds were thrown out on Tuesday and they've been living there for 5 years, and your dog goes on point, and you and your brother get to shoot one or two. Like,
Yep.
it's real. That's tough bird hunting when you get out there. I mean, yeah, if you catch them on the right day, there's some pretty dumb ones, but
Yeah.
when you go as much as we do, you're doing some hunting.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've gone a few times. I need to do it a little more, but I mean, it's a great time. I mean, there
that
you have your areas you can walk where they kind of hang out, and it's
and it's 20 minutes away. You
oh
you can
yeah.
get there. You can get the dog some work. You can get your workout in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a great resource. And I think, here I've started to see a lot more wild ones just running around. I think it's helping. I'm sure some of those are starting to stick, I would
Yeah,
hope.
bow hunting,
So,
prop, small properties that don't have any released birds, and you hear a cackle before dark, and you're like, oh, got to bring the dog back. Like,
yeah.
which sport am I doing here? Am I bow
I want to
hunting or
post
am
this
I?
for you. Real Outdoors Dad says if you ever want to do northern counties for grouse hunting, let me know. Ashland, Bayfield counties. You might be able to add some.
You will be followed in just a few minutes there, Real Outdoors Dad.
There you go. I actually did some fishing with Real Outdoors Dads this winter. He's a stick on this Lake Superior, so I can only imagine.
Oh, that is such a beautiful area.
Oh, I love it. I
And it's
love it.
May 20th, and that Ontario is just calling to come catch some shallow water lakers.
Yeah, yeah. So speaking of that, your parents have a cabin in Canada,
Uh,
correct?
Correct. Just in Ontario, across International Falls. We tell people it's south of Dryden. A lot of people know where Dryden is, up 502.
Okay.
Uh, it's about an 11-hour trip. Us Wisconsin people, we talk in hours for trips,
Yeah.
right? So, 11-hour trip from Madison area. and we had been going twice a year. My parents like to go 6, 7, 8, 10 weeks a year. We've been going there since '96. It's just their place. You got to take a
Hmm.
4-wheeler, 4 miles to get to the cabin, but it's a really nice cabin.
That sounds awesome.
Really
That
nice
sounds cool.
accommodations, and you jump in your little whatever 14-foot Lund with a 20 horsepower on the back and go try to find bass and pike and the Lakers. We like jigging in 80 feet of water for Lakers.
Those are shallow water. That's shallow water.
So, well, okay, so in May, when you try to catch ice out, and
Gotcha.
so then we've caught them on fly rods in 15 feet of water.
That's cool.
But then they migrate as the water warms. They want to be in that cold water, so they migrate down to that 80 100 feet of water.
Nice. How's it going, Reef Robber? Thanks for stopping in. I know me and your brother have talked about a potential ice fishing trip there, an epic ice fishing trip. So lake trout are my new favorite species to the ice. So I'm itching to go on like an epic lake trout trip. So
Those toothy guys, they can fight.
oh, there's nothing
So
better.
so here's what I'm wondering. Americans are large in the part of Canada we go to. We're a large part of their economy as far as coming up and spending money and going fishing. I'm curious is if there's going to be a couple bigger Lakers with 2 years of the summer closed.
I would think so. I mean, you got to only imagine they're being saved out there,
Yeah.
Hopefully they open it up soon. I know, there's people who have cabins up there and are itching.
So if it gets you there with your snow machines for the ice, one of my uncles ran over a moose paddle on his snow
Really?
machine when they were up there. Yeah.
Wow.
And that I think that's probably I enjoy shed hunting in the spring. Finding a moose antler in Canada would be
That'd be amazing.
that'd be better than catching a Laker for me.
That would be wild. Yeah, that would be crazy. Yeah, you enjoy walking for sheds a lot more than I can attest to.
They're hard to find.
I know. It's the ultimate needle in a haystack.
Public land around Dane County, I think, gets hit just a little bit.
Yeah.
It makes the one or two I find sweeter. It's an excuse to get the dog out, before the nesting season. We still point pheasants right up until April 15th, which is great. Some live through the winter or wild ones, whatever you want to say. But we've pointed them on April 15th right before the closes for nesting season. It's you can call it a couple of trips, if it's
That's
training
awesome.
and shed hunting.
Cool. Well, I know if anybody has any questions here, for Matt, and as far as whether it's hunting or the commercial fishing in Alaska, I think so I ask all of my guests some of these questions. I'm not sure if you've listened to one of these before, but they are maybe you've thought through, maybe you haven't.
Hey, we didn't talk about, did you wear that shirt on purpose?
Organic? Yeah. I know. I love it. I was looking at your shirt thinking, man, that's a cool shirt design. I like that. Works well with you. I didn't even realize they were like the same concept. That's awesome. Eat wild game, folks. If anything you pull out of this, eat wild game. So it's just 4 questions. You can elaborate on as much as you want. Your biggest outdoor accomplishment?
Oh, that's fun. Huh. So I think I would have to say shooting a caribou with my longbow.
Oh, wow.
Was a pretty incredible trip. The first year I lived in Alaska, incredibly green, and there's a trip called the Hall Road Caribou Hunt. And I did a little research, and that summer, that was my first summer commercial fishing. And I had my longbow down there, and I practiced every day. Love to shoot my longbow, still love to shoot my recurve, instinctive shooting. And my brother flew up from Wisconsin. So I was 22 He was 16, and we jumped in my what did I have? A Chevy Blazer, small Chevy Blazer, and drove, gosh, 15 hours
Oh wow,
all the way to the Arctic Ocean,
that's
and
crazy.
just caribou hunted for days. And we saw a few, got on a few stalks, and I think on our 5th day, I got set up. We got set up in 2 different spots, and the caribou walked past me, and at 7 feet, I shot the caribou with my longbow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is I would say that's a very big accomplishment. I mean, it's epic. It's out there. It's a lot of effort and a lot of things have to work for that to make that happen. So I actually didn't know you shot caribou, so that's news to me. So all right. Current goal for hunting, fishing, or the outdoors.
Keep getting my kids involved.
That's a good
Keeping it
goal.
fun.
Very good
It's
goal.
every day. It's hey. So I think right now my kids are under the understanding like there's no option on opening morning. We're gonna get up, but then after that it's like, hey, do you want to get up? And I don't have sons right now who are like waking me up, going, Dad, it's time to get going. But I have sons who on the evening before, if I say, hey, we're getting up at 4, they go, I'm in, or they're more than welcome to say, I think I'm gonna sleep in tomorrow. So continuing to run that line of wanting to be out there and wanting to make sure that they're enjoying it. That's definitely my current goal, is to
That's
have
good.
lifelong hunting friends.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And obviously we know we need more people out there hunting and fishing and enjoying the outdoors and speaking up for us, right? So this is going to be theirs, to take over someday. So we appreciate you raising them right. Biggest threat to hunting, fishing, and or sportsmen in general.
I I think it's the decline of hunters, that there's just less of us and we have less of a voice. It was I got into trapping this year. I'm a lifelong
That's
learner.
right. Yep.
I just love learning things, and I couldn't tell you. I mean, I know very little about trapping. I was had some great people helping me, but I think we all need to learn more. Become, if you're a good whitetail hunter, become a good bass fisherman. If you're a good bass fisherman, go for an upland walk, and then bring a friend along. If your friend doesn't like deer hunting, maybe they'll like the next thing. Maybe they'll like the next thing. But we need more of a voice. We need more people who understand that what we're doing is a pretty awesome thing. So I think it's the decline of hunting numbers.
I think you make a really great point about as far as just because you are just because you're a bass fisherman doesn't mean you can't be a walleye fisherman or a big lake fisherman or whatever. I think understanding how those fisheries work and expanding your what you chase and what we pursue, whether that's a hunter who gets into trapping or whatnot, I think that helps us understand. Um, Even if you don't do it seriously and you just go do it a few times a year, at least you understand what it takes. And when that we all know different realms of the outdoor get attacked at different times, at least you're there and you understand and you can voice your opinion on it. Um, yeah, that's actually a very good point. So get out there and do some variety, folks.
Yeah,
I've struggled with that in my life, and I think that just this platform has forced me, because I don't want to be constantly producing the same content, whether it's for this or Instagram or whatever. But I want to broaden my horizons, so I think it's definitely expanded. So
real quick, that trapping thing. Last spring, I came across a clutch of 11 eggs, and set my trail camera up on video. Came back 2 weeks later, like, yes, we're gonna have the best video of 11 turkeys hatching. And I'll send you the link. Beautiful video of this hen sitting on the eggs and 2 raccoons pushing
ugh,
her off of it, and the video of them just grabbing an egg and eating it like it's nothing. So
really,
that honestly, that was a huge part in me saying, more people, because furs aren't worth a ton. It's a lot of
no,
work, but there's a lot of raccoons out there. You drive down the road, those guys are nest predators.
Oh yeah, I mean in the last probably 2 weeks, I've seen them more and more out right at dark, just running
Yeah.
everywhere. I think one day on the way home from putting turkeys to roost, it was still light out, and I think I saw 5 of them, and it was like, "What's going on here?" And I'm thinking, "Ah, it clicked." It's like they're out looking for eggs.
Send me those coordinates too.
Yeah, yeah, right near my house.
But I'm telling you, there is some awesome joy in having that animal and preparing the whole thing yourself. My son and I ate beaver tacos. We
That's
brined some beaver and skinning, fleshing, drying. We sold some furs. It's been a very fun winter activity, and I do think that you are benefiting wildlife as well with that
Oh,
activity.
I've thought about it, especially with the beavers living in Southwest Wisconsin on the Mississippi River. The whole Upper Mississippi Wildlife Refuge is just like they're just getting destroyed by beavers nonstop, right? Big oak trees, big maple trees, all this stuff. Just I mean, they're just out there and they're just being rung, every single one of them, because there's so many beavers and not a lot of trappers. So, but
It's not worth a lot,
no,
and it's a lot of work.
yeah. Matt S says better late than never. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate it. And you said hi as well. So, biggest threat to hunting, fishing. Oh, we just talked about that. What does free to prowl mean to you?
That we keep improving these public lands. I love your hat. I love your brand that we get to go do these things. I am so jealous. I mean, I love my family. I'm so jealous of your fall that you have planned. That you're willing to.
It's still a bit of a secret.
I'm assuming you're going to be doing some awesome things.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
No.
I've done some things to my truck, right? I've slept in my truck out in South Dakota, northern Wisconsin. Just that we can do those things,
Oh yeah.
And it's not that hard. That
It's not at all.
those places are all over our state and our country, and we are free to go do them, and it is all free. It is, you buy a license, and licenses are a very small drop in the bucket compared to everything else you do.
Oh yeah.
So you pick up. I love to buy licenses from the states I'm in. I know that that's going to good causes, but man, that Onyx app and the online forums where, hey, where's the next spot? Where's the next spot to explore? And just like I said with the counties thing with grouse, like I want to go prowl and explore that. And there's action out there in all of them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about just getting out there, going to dissect something new, whether that's just a new pond, new section of woods, new piece of public, whatever it is. I mean, we all have our kind of go-tos, but I think you're doing different counties thing definitely gets you out there, and you get to see something different, and it keeps us motivated to get out there and do different things, right? Some people get burnt out in this sport because they're doing the same thing over and over. And sometimes that's all right with people. That I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but some people, it's great to just have those goals, just little ones, right? I want to shoot a grouse in a lot more counties, or I want to, doing different things like that. Those challenges, I think, because I think a big part of being a prowler, being a hunter and a sportsman is getting out and not just experiencing different public lands or different spots, different places, different states, whatever that may be, but also going through and exploring also those communities, right, that make up those areas as well, and learning and meeting different people along the way. So I think that's been fun. I mean, I'll say the last couple of years I've fallen in love with ice fishing up in Superior, and I mean I've not been as successful as others, but I'm still in love with it. It's just a cool area. It's like an ice fisherman's paradise.
And you're sleeping in your tent, right?
I slept in my truck, yes, this year when it was bitterly cold. I think it was like -14. It's feasible. Had to run the truck a little bit, but I don't know. I literally left here, got up there, 6 some hour drive, got up there at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. It's like do I really need to rent a hotel for 60, $80 for, falling asleep for 7 hours? Not really. I mean, my truck's already warm. Let's jump in the back and go, It's the getting up and like changing. That's real kind of a problem in the morning. You don't want to get out of bed, but
if you end up with an 80-pound Labrador, they'll keep you warm up there, and I'll take care of them whenever you got to go out west.
There you go. I know. I need one. I'm trying to get Tyler to breed that yellow one, but he's being stubborn. But well, if anybody else has any questions for Matt here, looks like your son has joined us. That's who said hi from your account there. I appreciate everybody stopping in. It's and thank you to Matt as well. This has been good. I'm gonna post Matt's actually website if anybody's looking for salmon, or as well, if you're looking for, like you said, his wife loves helping people plan, or if you have questions about going to Alaska, they would be willing to, can I say that? They'd be willing to talk to you about that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and if you're willing to work, I'll take you for a boat ride.
There you go. How many deckhands you got lined up this year?
I have Zach. Zach is incredible. Will be a senior mechanical engineer major in Bozeman, and his father's the one who hired me and taught me to fish. So Zach has been fishing forever. Zach and I can do anything we want to do on a boat. It's all reading minds at that point. We know exactly what the other one's going to do. So I have one more year with Zach, and my sons are just starting to help a little bit. But Zach will have to get a real job. Those mechanical engineers,
It's not cheap to pay for that schooling. And then you get to my point and you try to live a little simpler. So there's a little nugget, a little hint for everybody. Real Outdoors Dad said he'll go work. So
well, that was, yeah. I mean, my brother Tyler, they're like, hey, I might be able to give you a week, and they would both be still very good deckhands, and I was like, yeah, maybe for a couple of years until the boys get that age, I just have friends come up and work for a week.
Hey, it's not a bad option. Just got to know those people they're not going on a vacation, they're going to work.
Oh, they know. Those two know for sure.
Yeah, I need to get up there and do it. I think we need to get up. I need to do that, and then we can film some stuff for you, some promotional stuff for you.
We'll go for a boat ride.
I like how you preface that. We'll go for a boat ride. Your arms might hurt at the end of it, but we'll go for a boat ride. Well, thank you very much for joining us. If there's no more questions.
Oh, you wanted to say hi? Jax wanted to say hi.
Oh, you can say hi. How's it going, buddy?
Hi.
There's one of the future deckhands.
You bet. You bet.
Thank you very much for taking some time out of your day.
Thanks for having me on, Koff. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. You know that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Something a little bit different here. We're just, just trying to expand and do more of these, just chatting with people about the outdoors and different premises and different aspects of it. So hopefully everybody had fun. And I think with that, we'll let Matt get back to it. So,
all right.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. If you guys would appreciate leaving any comments below, giving us a thumbs up, that'd be greatly appreciated. I know I didn't make any comments about that but got a little distracted trying to run it all, but still kind of new to these, but enjoying every moment of them and these conversations that hopefully are making people think a little bit. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night.